Hello friends, welcome back. My name's Ramon. How are you today? So recently, I've obviously been talking a lot about brands I got beef with, brands I don't plan to feature on my channel, brands I'm not checking for. And I've actually had very similar conversations on Instagram via DM with other creators. And I was actually having a conversation with a creator and we were just both like, why don't we take this conversation to YouTube, talk with each other on our platform so that our audiences, our followers, our subscribers can weigh in. And so with that, I'm actually gonna be chit-chatting today with Danielle, AKA The Style and Beauty Doctor, on the brands we're no longer looking at, checking for, working with, talking to, as well as spilling the tea why. While we're going to be chit-chatting about the brands that I personally have these opinions on my channel, we're also going to be having a very similar conversation from her perspective on her channel. So make sure you go check out Danielle's channel at The Style and Beauty Doctor here on YouTube. I'll have it all linked down below. But before we get into it, I'm going to ask to hit the subscribe button and notification bell so that you know when I post more skincare, sunscreen, and defense-related content on my channel. Give the video a thumbs up and down below in the comments. What are your thoughts on the brands that I'm mentioning? Most of them are not going to be a surprise to you, but I want to hear your opinions on what Danielle and I are going to talk about, as well as some of the brands you're no longer checking for as well. Sound off. So here I am with Danielle, aka The Style and Beauty Doctor. And Danielle, introduce yourself, please. Tell us what you do on your content.
Okay, so I'm Danielle. On my channel, I like to make things as fun and easy as possible when it comes to skincare. Like, I love the nerdy, geeky, sciencey kind of stuff. But I do realize not everybody has time for that. So I try to break things down in a fun and easy way over on my channel. I just play a doctor on the internet. I'm a doctor of style and beauty, not an actual medical doctor. You're not gonna get medical advice on my channel, but we have fun. We talk about skincare and fashion. So come on over.
Yes, go subscribe, go follow Danielle. I've been watching her videos for a very long time just because there is so much light and positivity and entertaining comedy off her channel. So please go subscribe and follow her. We actually just did all of her brands we're not messing with, we're not talking about, we are not checking for, and we're about to do the same thing on my channel. The first brand we're gonna be talking about, the brand we don't mess with, is Drunk Elephant. I've done quite a lot of content as to why, and actually Danielle talked about this on her channel as well. But basically for me, there's a lot to be said about a brand's lack of education as well as how they choose to market and how they choose to sell their products. And I've mentioned Drunk Elephant's Suspicious 6 really relies on fear mongering, and there's not a lot of support as to why they do have these ingredients on their Suspicious 6, especially when watching videos with the founder herself. She's like, oh, here's the thing, I don't actually have any problems with it. I just know that marketing wise, this is what's gonna sell. So people want. Putting those two things together to me just doesn't make sense. So then going off of what Danielle talked about in her video, when you come to the brand and you're like, hey, I got a reaction to your product, they come at you basically like, well, obviously you're using something that's not our product because our products would never do that. And then my last tea with the brand is the fact that they really recommend, they really encourage, I got brand training from the brand themselves, to mix a lot of their products together, cocktail their products, just kind of take all these things, apply them all in one layer, and you get all the benefits of their vitamin C, their hydrating serum, their moisturizer. And I don't actually have a lot of beef with that necessarily until it comes to their actives, specifically the vitamin C and the retinoid, but then also their sunscreen. First and foremost, never mix anything into your sunscreen. Do not do that. They're formulated to work by themselves. If you start to mix things in, it messes up the formulation. But then also with the actives, you start to get issues where you might not get even application of those actives all across your face, and that could leave holes. But more so, specifically with their retinol, I've had clients tell me that the retinol, they mix it in and then they apply it around their eyes and they get really bad irritation and dryness and peeling around their eye area. And that's not something I would necessarily educate my customers to do, especially if you're claiming your products do not irritate the skin. But Danielle, what do you got to say about that?
I share similar beefs with Drunk Elephant. And I can't lie, I have enjoyed using some of their products before in the past. I can't lie. I'm like, all right, little Drunk Elephant here, they ain't gonna hurt nobody. But when you look at the ethics and the way that they treat their customers and some of these price points, I'm like, this is an easy pass. I feel like they prey on that whole, because I used to be mostly a makeup channel, and then when I switched into skincare, I always talked about skincare, but when I kind of made the main focus about skincare, I would get a lot of comments from people like, yes, I'm excited for this because skincare is an investment and I will spend top coin for the best skincare products. And I feel like a brand like Drunk Elephant kind of plays into that because they play into the whole skincare as an investment. If it's $90, that means it really, really works, right? So that's part of my beef with Drunk Elephant.
No, I agree. You do not have to spend as much money as they charge for their products to get the results that their products give you. It's extremely overpriced for no reason. So then our next brand is this brand is Barbasturm. Have you used Barbasturm products?
Ooh, no, but ooh.
So that leads me to our next brand, which is Doctor.
Doctor. I heard that New York come out.
Doctor. It's your influence.
Right.
Yeah. Dr. Barbara Sturm. And this is a brand I more so just associate with like really rich people, just because I feel like I really noticed this brand the first time when I started noticing celebrities bring it up in their Harper's Bazaar Go to Bed With Me series. And I'm like, what is this brand? Who is this doctor? Looking into the brand, it just highlights everything I don't support in the skincare industry. Mad expensive for no real reason, for very straight to the point formulations. Even the other day I was going through Sephora's website trying to think of what brands I wanted to highlight for another video. And I was like, why is this skin clearing serum $250? And there's just a lot of things behind it that I feel like they really want to highlight these complicated formulations that they don't really use, these really expensive ingredients that aren't really that expensive. And on top of that, she's not even a real like dermatologist. I don't know. It's just one of those things where it's like a brand that prices based off being associated with a certain echelon of status and people. But what do you got to say about this?
Listen. I got so hyped when you mentioned this brand and the funny thing is they're so out of my mind that I didn't even think about this brand for my list. Now here's the thing, like I don't have such a harsh feeling towards them as I do like Josie Marin, because they can choke. But the thing with Dr. Barbara Sturm, right? For years, right? I don't even know if the brand's been out for years, but for a good majority of the time that the brand launched, I actually thought that she was a dermatologist. I had no clue, no idea. So there's that. I've actually been invited to a couple of their like shishi foo-foo events in the past. One was like very early in the morning, and you know, I would have loved to have gone to it, but sometimes, you know, early in the morning, I live in Queens, going into Manhattan, it's a lot, like no disrespect to, it's a lot. Anyway, like you said, Ramon, expensive. Like I've had a couple of requests for me to try out some of their products, and I think especially because Angela Bassett was, I don't know if she partnered with them or however Angela Bassett was involved with this, but this line kind of gives me Urban Skin RX vibes when it comes to like that like savior kind of like trope, because she has, I believe she has her regular line and then she has a line for dark skin tones. I feel like I saw that. I hope I'm not making that up, but I feel like that's the thing that I'm seeing. But I know for sure because the breakfast that I wanted to go to, that they invited me to, was for Black influencers and Black editors at magazines. So yeah, the price point. I didn't even want to try anything because I'm like, God forbid I like this. And this thing is like $250. So yeah, that's an easy pass for me.
And I want to say, I do not hate luxury skincare. I have no beef with it necessarily. And it's one of those things where it's like La Mer, I have no issue with La Mer. The essence of La Mer is the luxury behind it, the association, the feel that you're using something expensive because it's fun to use and it has that air to it. With Dr. Barbara Sturm, for me, it's just, they make it seem like this is very clinical, very high efficacy, very like scientifically proven stuff, and I'm like, girl, I am not paying $200 something for a salicylic acid serum. That is not in my budget. It's not in my religious ethics. It is not. That's rude.
And the gag is, if you go to a dermatologist and they prescribe you something, it's still not going to be that expensive. So the stuff that they're going to prescribe you is probably going to be, well, I don't want to say this as a blanket statement, but the stuff that they're going to prescribe you is probably going to be more effective for whatever issue that you're going to the dermatologist for than what they can sell you over the counter.
Do you have any thoughts on Goop as a brand?
I don't know her.
Goop, Gwyneth Paltrow's brand. Goop.
No, I'm being very like Jennifer Lopez. Like, I don't know her.
Oh, okay.
I don't even think about Goop. Like, didn't she come out with something that said, this is what my vagina smells like? I don't even know if you can say that word on YouTube without it being, you might have to bleep that out, but I am not fooling with Gwyneth Paltrow.
I know they're at Sephora now, and I don't know why. I actually have some tea with like a Sephora employee right now where she's like, we're bringing MLMs into the store. We have Goop now, and I'm just like, of all the brands, why Goop? Why are you featuring Goop? It's just for the hype of the brand? It goes back to that whole like Dr. Barbara Sturm. They like just have the price point for the sake of having a price point, I think, at that point. So this next brand is one I've mentioned casually, and it's, again, not something I really have a lot of beef with necessarily. It's just one of those brands where I'm like, you're paying a lot more for the vibe, the name, the essence, and that's Glossier. I have used a couple Glossier things. When they did their pop-up in Seattle, I had a friend who worked for them. We got to play around with a lot of the products. And they're not anything that's necessarily bad. They have very basic to the point skincare. They got a few serums, a few moisturizers. They have their sunscreen. For me, everything is priced like 100, 200% higher than the price needs to be for that product. Their sunscreen is like 30 mil for like $30, I think. Their moisturizer, their eye cream, their serums are really nothing special. They're very basic formulations. It's like a zinc serum with niacinamide. It's a vitamin C serum. They don't do anything exciting to me. It's really just about the essence of Glossier that I'm just like, I don't really mess with that brand. Their makeup's okay. Their makeup's nothing special to me either, but.
Yeah. Glossier is a bunch of marketing geniuses. I follow them. I have been following them on Instagram for years just because I was like, yo, this marketing is so on point. Like, I need to study this. Like, I wish this brand was around when I was in school getting my degree in marketing, because this needs to be in a textbook. What really worked for them, which I would love to see how that's going to like transition going forward, was they came in at a time when everyone was like heavily contoured, bodycon, like done up to the gods. They came in with their like, okay, this is how I'm gonna do my hair. And, this is all I need to be pretty. I have a blemish, but my blemish doesn't have me. Like that very kind of like marketing. But because they were, very much that anti what was popular, I think a lot of people, jump towards that.
No, I 100% agree. First and foremost, their marketing is brilliant. It's genius. Emily Weiss really created such a huge movement with Glossier initially, because like as you said, it was at a time when everyone was beat, contoured, baked, done up to the gods, the house down. Since then, I mean, even in the last 2 years, the transition in the whole makeup industry really has actually reflected the movement that Glossier created. You have a lot of brands doing the same things that they did. Morphe just came out with basically Glossier 2.0.
Oh.
So I'm actually like in agreement with you. I want to see how they grow, how they advance, because at this point you have so many brands coming for their gig that they haven't done anything innovative to me in a minute.
Yeah.
So then my next brand, and I've talked about this even up to very recently, and that's Supergoop, primarily because to me, I don't have any beef with Supergoop products necessarily. They're actually like very decent products. But my thing is, first and foremost, the price point they charge, unnecessary. Secondly, and kind of leads back to number one, is the fact that I don't feel like they educate very well or very adequately as to how to use their products. Therefore, you're not using their products to the fullest of the ability that you need to. Again, like not putting on enough sunscreen because their products are $34. And as a result of that, you're not getting the protection that the products are giving you. Talking about the Daily Dose serum that I don't like and that I've dragged and read to filth, there's a blurb on that marketing that basically says that, oh, vitamin C is an ingredient that is super unstable and it photo incinerates. And I remember I read that and I was like, what? And then I remember I shared that on Instagram and everyone was like, what the hell is photo incinerate? That's not even a word. That's not even a thing. Like everyone looked it up and no one was like, could find anything about it. And second of all, if you are formulating with a vitamin C product, I would hope that you are formulating that vitamin C to be as stable as possible so that you are A, getting the effects of it and it's actually able to work properly in your skin, but also B, that it's not just evaporating out of nowhere and not serving you a purpose. Like that's not how vitamin C works. So fundamentally, with how Supergoop markets and educates and the price point they charge for the products, I just do not agree with the brand itself. What do you guys say?
So I actually like Supergoop.
I like Supergoop. I'm not saying they're like they have bad products.
This is awkward. No, I'm just playing with you, Ramon. No, I 100% feel what you're saying. So my relationship with Supergoop, I think, is more of like there was a time when Supergoop was very innovative in the market where it was things that you didn't really see that often in products. And I love that they think of sunscreens for so many different situations, because I kind of feel like one of the reasons why a lot of people, especially people of color, don't really wear sunscreen is because people think of like the chalky, pasty mineral sunscreens that are thick and hard to blend in and are greasy. And people don't realize that there's so many different cosmetically elegant formulas out there. So I like that Supergoop has like literally a sunscreen for whatever like life throws at you. But to Ramon's point, because, we're in different times now. People are making you have all these Korean sunscreens that are available that do similar things that are at a fraction of the price point. point. And if I can recommend sunscreens that are, like very affordable, easy to get, I'm going to recommend that because I'm just so passionate about people of color wearing sunscreen. Especially people with darker skin tones, because a lot of us tend to think that we don't need it. If I can recommend a sunscreen to someone that's affordable, I'm gonna do that, so.
I will say they did change the game for a minute, especially when they first got to have like large prominence, and that glow screen was a game changer. And I think they have done a lot to really highlight the fact that sunscreen can be elegant and can be fun to wear. I also see the PR they send to a lot of creators, and I think like, dang, I really shot myself in the foot jogging them all the time because they send some cute PR. But I got my ethics, I have my stance, I'm standing firm in that, and I can go without the cute PR. So the next brand we're going to talk about, again, is a brand I've talked about a lot, and a brand that I've mentioned frequently is one I don't support, and that is Biossance. And similar to Drunk Elephant and to Supergroup, there are products from Biossance I did enjoy and that like low key I will continue to use in my rotation just because I still have it. But in terms of Biossance as a brand, it's not one I want to highlight on my channel just because I don't appreciate how they educate, and it always comes back to their sunscreen launch. And Danielle and I have talked about this. Danielle actually likes their sunscreen, and I will say their sunscreen's not a horrible sunscreen necessarily. It didn't work for me. And that's tea. Skincare is a very personal thing. But when it comes to the education of how they marketed and they really advertised that sunscreen, I remember seeing more and more from the brand, especially from the director of education, being like, we chose zinc oxide because it's such a translucent filter and we wanted it to be something that was so inclusive. And I'm like, that's not really how zinc works though. And I feel like they really leveraged that they were a clean brand and they wanted to utilize very non-toxic, very safe ingredients. And that's why they chose zinc. And I'm not knocking them for choosing zinc. I think there's ways to formulate zinc to be more inclusive than we think it is, but I feel like they really tried to sell this as a really inclusive product when it wasn't, by spewing a lot of misinformation and a lot of really poor education. On top of that, and I mentioned this in the video for the sunscreen that I did, first of all, they used a black model to show the sunscreen and like, hey, we're inclusive, but they didn't show her applying a proper amount, and that leads to two lies. The fact that they didn't teach that with sunscreen you want to wear a specific amount in order to get the protection on the packaging, but also the fact that this could be really inclusive and everyone can use this. And I mean, that's not necessarily completely wrong, but I feel like there was just a lot of misleading, a lot of smoke in the mirrors with that launch. And as a result of that, that's a main reason I don't like them. They just use a lot of language around, we don't use non-toxic chemicals and we don't use all this stuff. And it really falls back to that fear mongering that I don't like around chemicals and chemistry and that kind of stuff. It's very long-winded, but what do you gotta say about that?
Wow, there's a lot to unpack here. So here's the thing, right? I totally agree with you. Clean beauty brands in general for me, it's just like, girl, stop. Like, what? I get it, but I don't get it, because here's the thing. Consumers are very fickle. Consumers sometimes chase trends, and, there are a lot of, other competitors on the market. So in order for a brand to, really kind of cut through that noise, they do tend to be very heavy on the marketing to kind of like get their point across. I'm kind of neutral when it comes to Biossance. There's things that I've tried. Their team has been really amazing to me. And, as an influencer, that does help. Of course, it doesn't necessarily mean that I'm going to be like all gung-ho for your products and never and always review everything that you send me. But, having some good bedside manners does kind of help sometimes. But I'm a little neutral, but I definitely feel your points when it comes to the clean beauty and the fear-mongering and whatnot.
So in my last category, it's kind of a very overarching umbrella category, and that's celebrity skincare. And here's the tea. I love Rihanna. Anything Rihanna drops, I eat up. I don't care. I will love it no matter what. And Fenty Skin was no question. Fenty Skin to me actually did something. It was simple, it was basic, but I think fundamentally with how they approached the line, how they developed the line, how Rihanna marketed and talked about the line, everything was very thought out. Everything was very well intentioned. Going to Pharrell, Human Race, I think it was very smart for him to bring in his esthetician, for example, to help consult on the line and develop very well-intentioned products again. With both the lines, I think they did a lot and made big statements with having very eco-friendly, sustainable packaging. Like, they did really good things with that. But then on the other hand, you have brands like MDNA, which is Madonna's skincare line. You have brands like Paris Hilton skincare line, more recently launched, JLo Beauty. here's my tea, my thoughts with those as an overall for all three of the brands. I think these aren't celebrities necessarily known for amazing, well, actually JLo is, but I was gonna say for like amazing skin, for having like, I want their skin, I want to look like them at their age. With those specific brands, it was definitely more of how do I as a celebrity private label skincare, attach my name to it and make money off of it. My thing with JLo Beauty is I feel like the time and place for this line was 10 to 15 years ago. First and foremost, I kind of feel, especially in the last 5 years, JLo's relevance has kind of fallen off. And this is coming from someone who I would idolize Jennifer Lopez. I'm Puerto Rican. I'm from the US. My mom's from New York. In my head, I was JLo 2.0. You cannot tell me otherwise. She was in movies. She was obviously a huge music star. She had fashion, perfume. She did everything. She should have done this back when she was doing all of that. With the launch of JLo Beauty, she really missed the mark in, first of all, not including influencers in a more prevalent way. That's why I think Fenty Beauty did really well in that regard, because they had influencers have PR up to a month beforehand. Whereas I'm very aware of the fact that right now, they're only just now starting to reach out to influencers to send PR. Secondly, how JLo herself marketed the line, you kind of get the feeling that she doesn't necessarily know a lot about the ingredients, the formulation, the products themselves. It was kind of messy, a little sloppy. She's also really banking on this olive oil being like the skincare secret. And I'm not saying that's necessarily off because, for example, squalane can be derived from olives and there's this olive complex in the formulations that are in her products. And she has this air of, oh, I would never get plastic surgery. I am not the person to get filler. I'm not the person to get work done, which leaves a lot to be desired. And that kind of applies to every aspect of JLo Beauty. What are your thoughts on all that?
So yes, I totally agree with you in your assessment. Fenty Beauty is another brand where the marketing nerd in me is just like, oh my God, this is so good. Keep doing it. I watched Rihanna's Harper's Bazaar Go to Bed with Me, and I thought that was really genius. And either whoever is, like giving her media training or what have you, or whoever she's, learning her skincare stuff from, like she finds a way to kind of make it her own. I feel like, it's more like a girl talking about, girl, you need to wear sunscreen. The fact that she launched with a sunscreen will forever be huge positive in my eyes because so many people in our community feel like we don't need to wear sunscreen. I agree with your assessment on JLo Beauty. They reached out to me maybe, a week or two ago to send me products. I'm interested in trying it to kind of just see like what's what. Because while I don't necessarily think of JLo for her skin, I do think of her for her skin, but I don't at the same time. I think of her more of like this really glamorous, entertaining woman that like, I don't think Scott Barnes does her makeup anymore, I don't know. But, when Scott Barnes was doing her makeup, there's that bronzy, the JLo glow and this and that and the third. I don't necessarily think of her for that, but 1000%, this probably should have been something that, she came out with 10 to 15 years ago. I am no stranger to getting filler and Botox. As a matter of fact, I have an appointment on Tuesday and I'm going to be vlogging it and putting it on my channel. So I don't necessarily think there's anything wrong with filler and Botox. I feel like more education needs to be had on that. I like JLo as an entertainer. I've never been to one of her concerts, but I would go. She gives costume, she gives outfit changes. She's not giving much voice, but that's not what we like JLo for. We like JLo for the extravaganza and the dancing and stuff like that. Well, let's see if she gives us skincare. We'll see.
And my thing is, I'm actually like, I would want to try the products. I'm not in any way, shape, or form saying that they're going to be bad products, that they might not work, that they're not going to be good skincare products. But my thing was just overall, kind of going back to what we were talking about with the marketing of Fenty and Glossier, the marketing, the launch, the planning of this just wasn't executed in the best possible light. And I feel like all the negative energy from that and the controversy around that greatly outshadowed how good the skincare could possibly be. Looking at the products, there are standouts for me that I'm like, oh, I'd like to try that. That sounds interesting. Like, this sounds good. And I've seen people talk about the products without even having used them. And you can't review a product without having tried the product just looking at the ingredients. That's not how that works.
But low key, this is not a product line that is geared towards any of us anyway. Like any of us like skincare influencer people. You're not gonna see like, James Welsh be like, oh, and here's my JLo, toner. I would
want to.
Routine. Like But you know, it's not a line that's geared towards our kind of people anyway. But you know, it's the name.
And so with that, those are the brands that I'm not touching. I don't mess with. I'm not going to be checking on. Big shout out to Danielle. Again, please go follow Danielle on Instagram, on YouTube. I'll have everything linked down below in the description box. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye.